a piece called Reconciliation. Before I begin, I have a couple people that I need to thank. I'm just going to speak for just a moment about the piece and what it means and all that jazz. First, I have to thank my advisor, Miss Norma Davis, who taught me everything. End of story. And the incredible thing is that taught is the operative word. I asked her actually, point blank, to give me what notes to write at one point. I was like, I don't know what to do. What do you think? What notes? And she was like, I don't know. How about you try to do something like this? And she taught me how to do this. And I learned to compose from her. And she didn't tell me. And that, I think, is a credit to her as a teacher. She taught me how to put together an orchestra. She helped me do that. She taught me how to conduct. She found me a baton when I dropped it on the library floor. Literally, this piece would not be played. And if it would be horribly underdeveloped if it hadn't been for her guidance. So thank you to her. On top of the excellent guidance of Ms. Davis, I have to thank Dr. Ann Matlack, Marty Sigdek, Greg Vonnier, and Ellie Escher for their guidance and their compositional expertise, which they lent me so graciously. I have to thank Mr. Kleppish and Mr. Tan for their technical support. I am technically inept, so that was greatly appreciated. I have to thank Mr. Russo for sharing his knowledge of instrument ranges, and I have to thank Mr. Nuzzo for lending me my first wand. I've wanted to go to Hogwarts since I was 11, and now I get to. And now I have two groups of people that are really crucial. Firstly, I have to thank these students who are extraordinarily gifted and who gave their time over the last 2 weeks to learn this piece. Two of whom are actually in Classics Academy, Carrie Kabush and Michael Demare, as well as Paul Cipriani, who's in English with us. These people, why not, right? These people gave their time to this project, and I really can't kind of put it in words how much that means to me. Thank you so much. I will never forget this. If you ever need anything in like 50 years, call me up, I'm your girl. Secondly, I need to thank the Classics Academy kids and the Classics Academy teachers because you have all changed my life, and I can't thank you enough for that. Now, moving on to the piece and the actual thing. The first book we read in classical literature was the Iliad, and I think a lot of people have touched on it because it struck a lot of people because it's quite an extraordinary poem. I was struck immediately, and I actually wouldn't shut up, about the brutality of the poem. I was really upset at how war was glorified in this poem, and I was really kind of horrified and upset by this, and outraged. And I wondered immediately why we read this. Why do we read a book of 40,000 lines about brutal, horrible acts? And not only that, but a book that glorifies them as something worthwhile. Why do we read this? What do we see in ourselves that reminds us of this? And I thought that this was a really important question, and this was kind of going to be my answer to this question that Mr. Gakowski posed. I remember back, I sing in a choir called Harmonium, the Harmonium Choral Society, and a couple years back, they sang a piece called Dona Nobis Pacem. Now, this piece goes back quite a ways, because Walt Whitman wrote a series of war poems. After the Civil War, he served as a nurse in the army. And after his experiences, he wrote a number of poems depicting war and capturing the essence of the horror and the brutality of people. And then, yet again, this same idea was carried forward when a British composer by the name of Ralph Vaughan Williams took these poems and set them to music and called it Dona Nobis Pacem, grant us peace. And the piece is full of the anguish and the desire for redemption from our sins and our brutality and our savageness. And I think then, yet again, that strand is pulled forward because in 2008, the piece was performed around the United States to commemorate the 5th anniversary of the Iraq War. You see a thread here of a common thought, a common obsession with our own savage nature. Why can't we be better? Why can't we realize these ideals that we have? Why are we so caught up in these horrible instincts that we have to fill? Why can't we reach that higher plane? And we've obsessed over that in many different ways, in many different areas, I wrote about it, but I'm going to cut it out because I've got to move on. Sorry, we've got some playing to do. So what comes to mind is the best way to describe this predicament that we have is to pose a metaphor to you of a man in the room. This man is civilized. He's a thinker. He's a philosopher. He's a cultured man. Well, he's well-to-do. And he lives in this room. But he's ever aware of a wolf at the door. And the wolf is scratching at the door, begging for entry. And the minute the man forgets that the wolf is at the door, and he goes to check who's at the door, he's killed. This is the same as our obsession with our own brutality. I think we write and obsess over it because the minute we forget, it kills us. And we are removed. We take a step back from that idealistic goal. And so we have to write about it. We have to remember the Holocaust even though we know more of genocides will happen. We have to write about more even though more will happen, and we know it. Because we have to believe in our ideals, or we're worth nothing. And I think that's what the classics mean. I think the classics turn in the page. I think this is the redeeming quality of humanity. And I think the classics offer us an ability to see humanity perfectly illustrated. We have the lens of time when we look at classics. We read the Iliad and we read about Agamemnon and we say, why do we understand him? He's 3,000 years old. And he killed all these people and he's a really terrible person. Yet, he's also a man, as Michael pointed out. In his thing that he said I would do. He said I would do that, and I did. He's also a man. And we are all men and women. And the classics are crucial because not only do they offer us insight into who we are as people and offer us an opportunity to keep in mind that savage nature so that we can progress forward, but they give us hope that we are capable of reaching that goal. I believe firmly in the goodness of people, and that is because of the classics and because of what they offer us as far as an insight into humanity. So this is Reconciliation. It deals with that idea, that dichotomy in man of our savage nature and our desire for a better society and for a desire to realize our potential in the real world. You'll notice there's are two dueling themes. There's clearly the theme of the plea for peace, introduced by our lovely oboist, Carolyn Grano, and against her, you will hear the loud opening motive of the war theme, the savage theme. It's an opening block chord of the entire orchestra. Listen for it and enjoy.